Hey guys, brand new podcast, and it's a good one with Colin Quinn, who we all know I am a huge fan of. By the way, this is the fourth time I've done this intro because I keep fucking spinning out of control. I got nothing to promote. New Two Bears, One Cave, new Bill Bert. I'm running 2,000 miles. Winston Churchill Day is this Sunday. What is Winston Churchill Day, Bert? It is where I get woken up on Sunday at 8 in the morning with toast, butter, jam, eggs, a side of bacon, maybe some beans, like a little Britishness, some coffee, some water, some juice, a scotch, and a cigar. And that is Winston Churchill Day. By the way, I'm sure there's a real one because he is like a legend. But that's how I'm celebrating that day. I talked about it with Bill Burr maybe at first. I've talked about it with Segura too. But I am so fucking excited. I'm so excited. I'm going through a real big history phase. I can't believe it took me this long to get here. I'm kind of embarrassed that I didn't know anything about, like, what's so funny is I'm trying to reach out to this Russian teacher, professor about Russian history because I'm really obsessed with the parallels. And we'll talk about this a little bit in the podcast with Colin. You'll hear me talk about it. But I'm very obsessed with the parallels in Russia when they had their revolution versus when we had our uprising. Just out of curiosity of the differences and the similarities, because they're all through Europe. There were overthrows of the monarchies right around World War I. And I'm curious. Now, I don't know if I believe in monarchies. Like I've been obsessed with the Queen too. And it seems like what Britain did is a little more reasonable, than what was happening in Russia. But I'm just obsessed. So I want to talk to someone. I got Daniel Bolelli coming on, right? I got Daniel Bolelli coming on. But I think we're just going to talk about Theodore Roosevelt. Because I'm also obsessed by these personalities, these big personalities, like Winston Churchill, I keep saying Harry S. Truman, motherfucker. This is why you shouldn't read. See how many times I've misused names I got to do a bit about not thinking reading's bad. What's funny about comedy is I've just started writing, like real legit writing. What I've done, little insight. I wonder if I can. I don't want to show you because then you'll see what I wrote. But what I've done is I've taken those these. I can't show you. The big poster boards, and I've put them on my table. So my whole table is paper. And then anytime I have an idea, I write it on the paper. And what I've been doing is this a fun little exercise. Is I've been writing sentences that don't make sense. Okay. So what I do is I write the first word, and then the next word that comes into my mind, I write that down, and I write them to not make sense, and then I try to work them as a joke. Does that make sense? It's real free-form thinking. So I'll read you a sentence. By the way, I can't read my handwriting, so I really can't read my fucking handwriting at all. This is crazy. I think all aunts and uncles need to learn to do is be solid in the middle ground of not getting attention. And so it's just writing. So that was a bad example. It was my sister. Hey, Koss, what's up? Yeah, why? Are you okay? Yeah, we do. Okay, I will. Bye. Can I tell you what sucks about fucking women? Fucking women.
We're recording.
I know.
Oh, okay.
It's like sometimes like I don't know if it's because we were raised as men. Sometimes you just are direct, like, "Hey man, what's up?" Or if I have bad news, I'm like, "Hey man, you got a second?" Like, "Hey, I got bad news." Sometimes with women, when Leanne does it, and my sisters do it, and fucking my daughters do it, is they'll beat around the bush of the bad news, and I'm like, "Whoa, speed it up." You saw me panic right there, right? You know what she asked me? She goes, "Hey." I was like, "Hey." She's like, what are you doing?" And I was like, what? She goes, are you on a podcast right now? And I was like, yeah, what's up? She was like, oh, okay. And now I'm fucking panicking. And she's like, hey, do you guys have that guy that washes your cars? And I go, yeah. She goes, can you call me the next time he comes over to wash your cars? And then I'm going to bring my car over. And I was like, yeah, are you fucking serious? Like, I just thought mom and dad had COVID. Like, what the fuck? Anyway, this writing exercise maybe isn't the fucking greatest, but what I do is I like to write sentences. I can't read them, but then I come up with jokes. So one of the jokes, I'll tell you one of the jokes. By the way, a little inside baseball. I wrote a joke. Let's see. It initially was, I fuck like a Tesla. That was the intro to the joke. And then I was like, I definitely don't fuck like a Tesla, except for I'm quiet and I'm fast. Like that's where I do fuck like a Tesla. But then I think the real thing is a woman, if you got a woman who like vibrators because she fucks quiet, fast, and needs a plug nearby. And then I started writing that joke. And then I was like, well, I don't know how that's going to fit because Leanne doesn't like any sex toys. She is fucking very against sex toys. And so it's interesting that people would be into sex toys. It is kind of like disconnective. Like sex toys are so, that's really fucking fascinating that people are into sex toys because a sex toy I would think would work best by you using it as opposed to someone using it on you, correct?
Yeah. Why is she against them?
She's always been against them. She'd rather just have sex. Why wouldn't we fool around? Why wouldn't we have each other's bodies touch and fool around? And I'm like, yeah, I agree. She was like, why would I trade out you for something else? I used to have a joke
trading, it's adding. It's like you get my dick.
Oh, no. There's no adding. If you add a sex toy with Leanne, she gives you a look of like confusion and like, okay, I don't know what this does for you. Like it's almost, I got to be honest with you, we tried something once or twice and it's so demoralizing. That's maybe I'll talk about this on Two Bears, One Cave tomorrow. Good call, Halston.
No cock rings, no nothing.
No cock rings. No, Halston. No. She is a 50-year-old woman from the South. God, she's 50. You know, she's in a different phase of vaccine than I am. God. Make sure you love her, boys, because that's the one you get. And thank God I fucking love that woman. Whatever fucking, she makes me laugh so fucking hard on shit that does not normally make me laugh. She makes me giggle. Make sure you love her, boys. All right, let's get to the fucking podcast. We've meandered all over the place. This has been the dumbest intro I've ever done. I actually owe you guys. I sincerely owe you. Today's podcast, this man needs no introduction. He is one of my favorite comedians, alive or dead. He's luckily alive. He just got through COVID. He's got a great book out right now called Overstated. It is right here. If you're not here, it is a coast-to-coast roast to the 50 states. He has had multiple, I want to say Emmy-nominated, fucking acclaimed stand-up specials, one-man shows. He is the creator and host of one of my favorite shows that has ever been on television, Tough Crowd. And he's got a new special that's on HBO Max. I think it's called Stand Up Comedy in a Parking Lot with Bobby Kelly, Rich Voss, Bonnie McFarland, Marina Franklin, Chris DiStefano, Sam J. Who am I leaving out of this?
The name of it. It's called Colin Quinn and Friends, a parking lot comedy show.
The name of it. Colin Quinn's and Friend, a parking lot show. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, and I apologize for this long fucking meandering intro, Colin Quinn.
He's the man, the myth, the legend, the fucking machine. What's happening?
How you doing?
Oh, man. I don't like the fact you guys have cool, dark backdrops, and my backdrop is just so bland. It blends in with my face, you know?
Texture. Every New York comic has that backdrop. Every New York comic has the most bland. Jim Norton switches to a green screen.
I know. He always has some green screen, you know?
How you doing?
I don't go for that kind of kitsch humor like Jim Norton.
It's either Burr had a green screen one time when we were doing Bill Bert. It was so fucking distracting.
Well, yeah.
He was so proud that he figured out how to use the green screen that you couldn't say anything.
It's inexcusable on his part.
How you feeling?
Good.
How's the COVID? How was COVID?
Oh my God. Well, don't you, it was, by the way, you look good. You look like you lost some weight, huh?
I haven't drank and I don't count like days in a row, but I haven't drank in 2 months. But I've had a couple nights where I tied one on, but and I've been trying to run.
You're very slender. What about COVID was, it was horrible. First of all, I got it. You know the whole story, right?
Yeah, Andrew Schultz tried to take over comedy by spreading it through his immigrant labor. Is that how it worked?
you really do know the source. And then Giannis and DeStefano had been on Michael Che 2 days before. I don't know why I'm making an excuse for them because they don't deserve it, but they had been on. They did a Michael Che sketch, so they got tested. So they felt they were clean. Then in the time between they got tested, the 2 days or 3 days between, they went on that podcast, Andrew Schultz thing. And then I go to their apartment where they do their podcast. And, I wasn't going to, I do it all from home, but somehow Chris was like, nah, it'll be fun. We'll go out to lunch. This is in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. He's like, we'll go out to this restaurant, Italian place, have fun. And I have, my whole family's from Bay Ridge. I grew up near it, but I grew up in Park Slope, but Bay Ridge is right next door almost. So I was like, yeah, I haven't been to Bay Ridge in a couple of years. It'll be nice, the old days. And I spent half my life there, And I was like, this will be fun. I show up, sit down, the apartment, it looked like it had COVID. They didn't clean out guys. It was like, guys, there's clothes all over the beds. You know what I mean? Everything just got a film over it. You know what I mean? And then, and there was like, oh, we're in transition. Everything's transition. And then we sit down and do the podcast. We did the podcast. I get COVID. I didn't know I had it at the time. Then the big outdoor lunch that I went there for, they ordered in pizza from someplace that was bad. And Giannis insisted on it's Sicilian, which is square. Yeah. So I didn't even get great pizza. It was like Sicilian. It was like eating bread a little bit. I could have been in Idaho eating pizza. It was unbelievable. And so then I bring COVID home, right? Give it to my wife. She gets a really bad case of it.
Really?
Yeah. So she really, she for 3 months, she said she feels like she has a hangover every morning. She's just getting past it right now. Ruins Thanksgiving, ruins Christmas. And now I try to explain the power dynamic in my relationship has changed because I gave it to her. So now I have to be on my best behavior for like 4 years. I don't know what the limit is when you do something like that to somebody else. Because she's so careful never to get, you know what I mean? Like I'm the one that went and did the podcast like an idiot.
How soon from when you were with those guys then you started feeling symptoms?
Maybe 2 days, 2.5 days.
Yeah. That's crazy. Was it, do you have a fear of that kind of stuff? Like I was around Dr. Drew the day before he showed symptoms and he didn't even reach out. Someone else told me, hey, Dr. Drew's got it. And I was like, fuck. So I called him and he was like, oh yeah, you should get tested. But I was the panic of getting COVID is because some people are fine and then some people aren't. And some people have a hangover for 3 months and then some people don't. And I think the panic is worse than getting it maybe.
For me, not for her, for me it was, I didn't feel bad getting it because a combination of reasons, but the fact that I gave it to her and that they put that in that she had it so bad, I was, it's just infuriating. And I gave it to my manager, the kid who works for my manager, Alex. I did a podcast. I did Gary Goldman's podcast. 2 days later, I didn't know I had it. And Gary didn't get it, but the guy that put it together, Alex, he was like doing the podcast. He got it from me.
Jesus.
So I was a super spreader,
That is.
And then that stupid Akash calls me, He texted me like, "Hey man, I'm really sorry. I never met him before." He was pretty funny, but it was still infuriating, That's what I like about comics, like real comics. He goes, "I know you don't want to hear from me. I know you hate my guts. I don't know why I'm doing this." Like they cover all the psychological territory of what's going on.
I know you don't know who I am. I know you've never heard of my podcast. I know you don't follow me on Instagram, but listen, here's the deal.
Yep.
I'm a big fan. I'm just worried about.
Yes, exactly. That's the great thing about comics. They cover all bases before they even say anything.
Hey, who was in your so you feel good now? Do you feel like 100%?
Yeah. Well, I've never felt, I honestly don't feel like I've felt 100% since I was maybe 4, because I feel like once I started eating candy, it was just all downhill for me.
You know what happens to me is I didn't realize how little things affect me. Like, as I drink so much, I didn't realize that like a pint of ice cream at 11 o'clock, I wake up with a headache the next day going like, "Oh, I don't feel so hot. Like I have diarrhea."
Right.
And my wife's like, "Hey, you had ice cream." I was like, "Yeah, but normally that doesn't do it." It's like, no, the other shit just overwhelms the little stuff.
Yeah. That's like they used to do the jokes about all the old Irish guys, in the bars. We'd always imitate them going, "You guys all hung over in the morning. Oh, I shouldn't have had those pretzels behind the bar last night. The bar pretzels. They're old. They're stale, You guys I like 14 shots."
It's funny. I listened to you talk to Conan about being Irish, and it's bizarre because I identify Irish. Even though my dad's family is German, and it's such a huge part of me and my cousins growing up that I guess it's kind of bizarre because Irish is kind of like, it's almost like washed out. Like I was thinking if you did, because Tiffany Haddish is doing an all black comedy special with all like Dean Edwards, Godfrey, Tony Woods, a bunch of great comics, and she goes, "They're all black because I'm black." And I thought, what if Colin put on a Irish special? And then I was like, you get Shane Torres, who's Irish but Mexican, Bobby Kelly, who's Puerto Rican but Irish. Like Irish is so not like you could do a diverse cast Irish special.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. We used to say when Bobby Kelly says he's Irish, he goes, "My name's Kelly." I go, "Yeah, and Patrice O'Neal's name is O'Neal."
You said it on Tough Crowd one time. You said Shaquille O'Neal, and I fell out of my fucking chair.
Yeah.
How often do people bring up Tough Crowd to you? Is that how often did you
Not that often.
What?
Not that often anymore,
For real?
Well, I mean, it's been 16, 17 years it's been off.
I feel like
yeah. I mean, they bring it up enough where I'm like, it makes me proud that people still remember that was, I mean, who knew at the time that was going to be some kind of a show that really would not be allowed on networks. You know what I mean?
I mean, really, honestly, the stuff that was said in that it was so open and honest. You were the first person that I had ever heard not allow applaud breaks for glad handy. Like, so I just got back from overseas performing for the troops, and you go, "Stop, don't applause." Right. And I remember feeling that as a comic, but I'd feel that in the back of the room when you heard comics, "Oh, my intro, tell them I worked in Afghanistan, I did this." Right. And then you'd be like, "Oh, fuck." And
yeah. All those pronouncements, like, I think all people should be treated equally. It's like, whoa. Get to the joke on this because everybody feels that way. That's not a comedian statement. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're trying to win people over. And believe me, I know a big part of comedy is going to be, likability, but it gets too far. Like they say, what Clapter was a couple of years ago, that's still around, like the idea of Clapter, people doing stand-up and saying things with righteous indignation and everyone's cheering, That's not last.
That's what it feels like the internet is now. Yes,
it is.
I sometimes think it's people. It really points out people that got the moniker comedian when they were just actors. They'd never done stand-up. They'd never written their own words to say their own words in front of people. And then they got this moniker comedian, and they learned how to be somewhat snarky with an applause break behind it. Like like, here's my politics. Actually, I know that you're not allowed to disagree with my politics, so I feel very comfortable being semi-aggressive, and that is the comedy therein.
Right. But also, there's sort of like a statement in it like, hey, they're pretending that they're going out on a limb, too, which is also annoying. It's like, I know I'm going to piss off a lot of people, and I'm going to get death threats. It's like, everybody gets death threats. Get over yourself. You know what I mean? It's part of the internet. You know what I mean? They're like, I know I'm going to lose. It's like, okay, stop. You're not doing something that's, maverick,
Yeah, you were the first person. It's funny. I've always been like 5 steps behind everything. Like, I didn't know what a meme was until it was like clear what memes were. And I was like, oh, that's a meme. Okay. It's just a picture with some words. Oh, okay. I got it. But you were the first person that introduced me to trolling. And I didn't know what trolling was when it was just, you'd put, I don't know, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but sometimes you got to behead a woman to, or whatever the tweet was, just those aggressive ones. And people really genuinely didn't understand what was happening.
Yeah, no, I mean, for some reason I caught early on the trolling thing just because I'm such a natural trolling, annoying, that's my idea, just getting people infuriated. And it started with, what's his name, when Gaddafi died. I was like, love him or hate him, you got to give him credit. He did his thing or whatever. And people were like, no. And then, well, the worst was Will Ferrell. One of my earliest things, I had to actually apologize. And because I was like, hey, Will Ferrell's great. He won some award, like a Mark Twain. I go, I love Will Ferrell. Good for him. I mean, what he did on SNL, I don't talk out of school, but dealing heroin and using heroin is not my idea of whatever. And so I thought it would be a big joke, like Will Ferrell dealing heroin, at least. I didn't just say using. I said dealing at SNL. And then people like, you're a snitch. Whatever he did, you should keep it between him. And then it got to be like a thing, like somebody picked it up and it was like news. Colin Quinn says Will Ferrell dealt heroin. And it was like a real legitimate news article. So I think it was HuffPost. And so I had to like retract my statement.
Oh, dude, right around that time you did that, right? It was when I noticed that what you were doing on Twitter. I was sitting at the bar at LAX at the American Admirals Club. And it was the night after the Oscars. And I was reading some of your tweets and I just sent out a tweet and I was like, oh, how cool. Just bumped into Meryl Streep and J-Lo at the American Airlines Admirals Club. And we just did Boilermakers at 8 a.m. Congrats, ladies. Hell of a job. And fucking Rogan called me and he was like, dude, you did Boilermakers with Meryl Streep? And I was like, Colin, I was like, no. And he was like, but you said you did. And I was like, I was a joke. And he was like, it's not funny. And I was like, why? I just thought you'd get it. Cause I was like, why would they do Boilermakers at 8 a.m? He goes, I don't know. They've been up all night. And I was like, I got to work better on my trolls.
Yeah. But meanwhile, it's Meryl Streep doing Boilermakers and J-Lo. First of all, they wouldn't be together. You should have realized those two would not be doing Boilermakers together. Neither one would be Boilermakers with you.
Yeah, like, hey, Bert, Boilermaker? Boilermakers. I feel like, were you funny in high school?
Yeah, well, in junior high, I mean, everybody that knows me knows I peaked at 14. When I was in junior
By the way,
high,
hold on. I swear to God, Colin, I peaked at 22.
Yeah. The people that grew up, all the kids that grew up with me know I was funnier at 14 than I'll ever be. Because the stimuli was different and it was a different world and it was just wilder. And I was I wasn't in my head. You were just bah. So I would go to class. Teachers hated me. The kids thought I was just a funny, they loved it because I was just always I was such a wise ass, but I was funny,
Yeah. I feel like this is talking a tad bit out of school, but when I first got into comedy, I remember being, which is semi-ironic considering how I've run my career, I remember being kind of grossed out at self-promotion. I remember being at I worked the door at the Boston Comedy Club when I started with Louis Schaefer. And I remember a couple comics getting done their sets and they would sit by the door as people left to shake hands. And I found that so gross. I found that so gross. And I was like, just do the job and get the, and I think getting into comedy, that was when I was my funniest, was when I had, all it was comedy. There was no thought. It was like when I was in college, people would tell stories about me and I'd go, oh yeah, I guess that happened. I don't remember it. And then all of a sudden, when I got into comedy, that part of my personality kind of left, or it started to dissipate. And I found that if you're not trying to sell tickets to your shows, no one's selling tickets to your shows. If you're not promoting yourself, no one's promoting you. And it made sense from a business standpoint, but it's like the part that when you say like, when I was my funniest, I was in my fraternity at college and I was unstoppable. I was the funniest human in that one period of time.
That's how I feel when I was 14. If 14-year-olds, if there had been professional comedy only for 14-year-olds, I would have been like Richard Pryor of all the 14-year-olds in the world.
Where did you grow up? You grew up in Brooklyn. But was it diverse Brooklyn or was it old school Brooklyn?
No, it was very diverse.
And you lived next door to Chris Rock?
It was very, very mixed. And that's what made me funny too, because you're around all these different people. So you're busting their balls. And in those days, of course, you could say ethnic things and nobody would have a heart attack if they were funny. You know what I mean? If they weren't funny, there would be violence. But if you were funny, you could say whatever you want and get away with it, more or less. That was how it was. And but when you talk about, I was thinking what a great show would be for you to do, would be to have all those stories that you don't remember, have them tell the stories, have all your friends tell those stories, and then you do an hour of the stories. Only you're doing stand up, but they go, no. Then you did this, so you have to keep adjusting according to what, okay, you heard him. He said, I did this. Now, here's what I remember. And maybe someone will come back to you, but it'd be an interesting stand-up special.
Me and Tony Woods did a show in DC. I was doing a show in DC and Tony Woods showed up at the end of the night. And I don't like talking much about this because I know that Tracy Morgan is not a fan of the story, so I won't tell the story, but I had a really great Tracy Morgan story, like a really epic one. And that was contested. Tracy, I have to allow him to live his truth, but he said it didn't happen. And I can understand that. It's a salacious story. And maybe there are parts that we disagree on. I can understand that. But Tony Woods was there as well, right? So Tony comes into the club and it's at the end of my set. My wife's there. I have my camera there. My wife's and Tony goes, hey, why don't you tell that Tracy Morgan story from the back of the club? I go, is that Tony? Everyone knows Tony's voice. So I go, is that Tony Woods? And he goes, yeah. I said, come on up. So me and Tony told the same story, but from our different perspectives. And it was amazing how much in my telling of the story, I am really this innocent, like I'm just this young guy that's happy to be around and I'm watching everything go down. And in Tony's recollection, which by the way is way more, tracks a lot more honestly, I am part of the instigation throughout of it. I am the first person that ripped their shirt off. I am like, and I'm like, yeah, that does, now that I'm hearing that, I'm like, that makes so much more sense. And then I get done, I get off stage and my wife goes, that was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Did you videotape it? And she goes, oh my God, I should have, huh? And I was like, motherfucker.
Oh.
Who was in your class? I keep trying to, you're friends with a lot of the guys that I'm intimidated by, like that I've never even spoken to. Like I've stood next to and they've I don't even think they know that I'm a comedian, to be honest with you. I think they think I'm
Rich Voss, those types.
Like Rich Voss, Bobby Kelly. No, no, like Chris Rock, Jerry Seinfeld. Like Jerry
Seinfeld started in 1976. So
he was way older than you.
He was the head of our class. I started about 84 or 80, probably late 84 with Chris Rock. Adam Sandler was 17. Chris Rock was 19. I was already 24.
So you were that Spade, Spade Rock.
Spade from Arizona.
No, but that same age.
No, I'm older than them.
Really? You're older than Spade?
I'm 5 years older than those guys. And 8 years older than Adam. So because I started late. You know what I mean? So I didn't start till I was 24, and they were 19. If you watch this back, you'll realize I said that, and then you came with a fake statement and said, "So you're the same age as those guys," and just really,
No, I'm not a good listener, Colin. I'm not a good listener. I've never been a good listener.
And then, but anyway, I started with them because I was 24. They were 19 and 17.
I started at 26. You started at 24?
24, yeah.
Shit.
And, 84. And then, and maybe I was 25 by then. And it depends what month. But either way, we all started waiting online, doing these open mic, all this shit, And so I knew those guys from the beginning. And we all just worked, and that was it. We all did these clubs that were the Boston Comedy was the place called the Paper Moon that Eddie Brill started, and we all worked at. That's the place where I really worked out. Adam Sandler used to get on stage with his friends and do this whole thing, and so that was one of the earliest clubs, Paper Moon.
Wow, yeah, I keep getting lost in because I think when people think of like your class, they think of Bobby Voss, Patrice, because that was but they were like two classes behind you.
I got left back.
You got left back. I feel like I never had a class, like, because the people I started with all got really successful, like Dimitri Martin, Gary Goldman. Everyone kind of blew up on Last Comic Standing, and then I was kind of felt like I was held back a year. And so my class, I feel like, is a year later. And I did the road. I feel like you never did the like when I started, you were a New York guy, straight New York guy. You weren't doing the funny bones, the improvs. You were just staying in the city.
What year was that?
97, 98?
Yeah, no, I was doing those clubs.
Yeah?
I always had that reputation as just a New York guy. But I did all the funny bones, and I did all those clubs, improvs. I mean, I was always around, but I did more of them then, actually. But I had that reputation that I never left New York. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I was on the road, yeah.
That's interesting. How did you meet Patrice?
He came in the cellar. I still remember he came in the cellar one night, and he was sitting at the table. Somebody introduced him to me. We shook hands, and I go, I go, your attitude is just emanating. I just started like analyzing him, and he's just like loving it. Because I was like, you hate it. You think you're better than everybody here. You think you're better than me. You just met me and you felt like you had to shake my hand. I just started, doing that thing we all do, But I could tell he liked it.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, good. Somebody's gonna, you know what I mean? Like, whatever,
This podcast is brought to you by Keeps. I don't know who I was just talking to about this, but I remember distinctly when I first started losing my hair. I remember feeling like it was my first step into mortality, and I was young. I was 21 years old, and someone told me I was losing my hair. And then I remember being in the car, and I showed my hair loss to my girlfriend. I said, I'm not losing my hair, am I? And she went, yeah, you are. It was so callous. And I felt like saying, do you realize the diagnosis you just gave me? Back then, I had to schedule an appointment with a dermatologist. I couldn't just deal with it at home. Thankfully, now there's Keeps, the simple and easy way to keep your hair. 2 out of 3 guys are going to experience some form of pattern male baldness by the time they're 35. I was 21. And the best way to prevent hair loss is to do something about it while you still have hair. That is the key. What's great about Keeps is this can all be done from your home. You can be sitting on your couch, watching Netflix, get on your phone, visit a doctor online, get the hair loss medication delivered right to your home. They make it so easy. Deliver your medication every 3 months so you can say goodbye to your pharmacy and checkout lines and awkward visits to the doctor. They have generic versions of the medication that treat hair loss out there. There's only 2 FDA-approved hair loss products out there, and you've never tried them for this price. Those generic prices are so much better. I remember one time they were like, all we have is generic. And I was like, oh, fuck, is it the same? And they're like, it's the same. I said, how much? And they were like, $2, not for this medication, but for another one. And I was like, why would I ever not get that? Prevention is the key. Keeps typically takes about 4 to 6 months to see results, so it's important to act fast. Start using Keeps now while you still have hair and save that hair. Keep your hair in your head. Find out why Keeps has more 5-star reviews than any other of its competitors. More than 100,000 men trust Keeps for their hair loss prevention medication. Keeps treatment starts at just $10 a month for a limited time. You can get your first month for free. I still have hair. I have friends that did nothing about it, and they have none. What would you rather be? A guy that still has a little hair or Tom Segura? Here's a call to action. Go to keeps.com/Bertcast to receive your first month of treatment for free. That's KEEPS.com/Bertcast to receive your first month of treatment for free. Get ready to take action and prevent hair loss. That's Keeps, KEEPS.com/Bertcast. When you were doing Tough Crowd and when everyone was coming into O&A were like, I guess you could argue probably my formative years of stand-up, meaning I didn't have any TV shows. I was out of money. I started a family. I was doing the road. I was broke, but I was obsessed with, I was like the most obsessed, and I wasn't jaded yet. Like I was still bright-eyed, like, and you and that whole group, the Tough Crowd group that then morphed into the O&A group was like, I would hear stories, and then, the greatest drive of my life was driving back from the fucking Tempe Improv, and I get in the car, and it was the very beginning of the O&A show, like meaning like the show just started, and It was you, Patrice, Voss, and Norton, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to make this drive home in no time. But I heard you tell a story about Patrice getting fired from Tough Crowd and then his mom getting his job back for him.
Yeah, well, when we did the early episodes, which was a couple on NBC, they started yelling at me that they didn't get paid enough. And they took it, like they started getting mad at me, like I was ripping them off. And I tried to explain to them a few things, whatever, long story short, it was a money argument. And so me and Patrice really got into it, and I was like, fuck, you know what I mean? Like, so then when the show got picked up as a show, I'm like, you're not coming on. I'm not talking. What do you think? You think I'm not petty? You think I'm Mr. Above It All? Because sometimes I felt like they would try to treat me like I was like the manager or the agent or something. They forgot I'm a vindictive, angry comic just like you, pal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever I want to do too. And so I wouldn't, and people were calling up, Colin, Patrice really would like to be back on. And I was like, I don't care. Like people would be calling for him. And it was so funny. Like they would call me and petition for him. But I was like, I don't give a shit. Let him come apologize to me, And then he shows up with his mother and at Tough Crowd, his mother. And I go, yeah, he's treating me like we're in the ghetto school and I'm the principal. And his mother's sitting there, and his mother's great. Did you ever meet his mother?
Yeah, Georgia.
Great. And she's like, Colin, I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what to tell you. I'm just, and me and him have a screaming match. And we were by these open windows. There were these big windows. It was an old building. And it was wide open because it was summer. Wide open. We're screaming our heads off. The whole staff said they were going to rush the place. They thought he was going to kill me. And I'm back. My back is to the window. And I was like, this bastard could push me once and I'd fly out that window. And we were screaming. This is his apology, by the way. The apology is him screaming because he didn't like the fact that I was smiling during the apology. He goes, what are you smiling for if we're fighting? And I go, don't tell me what to do with my face. I'll do whatever I want. I was smiling. So it was like a real ugly fight. But then at the end, it was a formality. I knew he had to be back. As much as anyone, he was Tough Crowd, more than me, sadly. But that's all right.
Him and it's funny. I watched every single episode, and I've watched every episode again on YouTube.
Oh, that's great.
It really, because it was right when I had Georgia, my youngest. I was obsessed. Obsessed. It was like, and I was doing good in comedy, meaning I was featuring and I was getting some headline work and I was writing the quickest I ever wrote. And I mean, I would sit with Georgia. I've told the story a million times, but I would sit with Georgia in, if you cross your legs like this, you can put a baby's ass right in the center. And I'd put Georgia right there and I'd have my coffee and I'd watch Tough Crowd. And I'd come back on a Monday and watch it on a Tuesday. So I'd have Wednesday morning, Thursday morning, Friday morning, and I'd watch an hour of it. And just, I mean, it was probably, yeah. It's, but it's interesting how that morphed into, I feel like that morphed into the hang at O&A. And then I think, and I don't know if I'm overthinking this, but I really think that kind of morphed into podcasting. It was the beginning of what I think so many comics would listen to O&A and go, God, man, I wish I had a hang like that. Like, I wish I had friends I could bust balls with. And then all of a sudden you'd go over to Rogan and you'd be like, oh, fuck, it's me, Joey. And Joey's telling some outrageous story about sneaking in some girl's room on a Quaalude. And you're like, fuck. It's such a, and it bums me out that things have to end, like where Tough Crowd ends or O&A ends or Rogan moves to Austin and you're like, fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, that's how it is. I mean, it's probably for the best because if you go to any job, anyone that's been there for too long, you ever work at a job where people have been there forever, they're just over it. So, I mean, the energy, even though they're grateful to be working there and but it's just like, the energy just changes.
Yeah. I want to talk to you about your book and about the new special you put out. Your new special fucking changed. It really, really was a little bit of like a game. Everything you've done has been like a subtle game changer to all of us. Like when you started doing one-man shows, I really think a lot of people started reinventing the way they did stand-ups. They were like, yeah, what the fuck am I doing? Like, hey, good to be out of the house tonight. Like that fucking bullshit intros and started to have themes to them. And when I watched this last one, man, all I thought to myself is, why the fuck is anyone doing a special in the theater? That was so fucking beautiful. I mean, when DeStefano's on stage, as much as he bombed, as bad as his set was, it was beautiful to watch.
And the truth was, he was right. He went first.
Yeah. Oh, no. I have a lot of notes about that special, Colin. I have a lot of fucking notes. First of all, the fucking bullshit pandering honking crap. Fucking Voss started a trend that you do that. You don't do that in a goddamn special, Voss.
No. Marina and Voss are both responsible equally.
Yes.
She brought it out too.
Yeah.
Voss isn't smart enough to think of that on his own. You ever see The Godfather when he goes, no, Tartaglia is a pimp. He never could have thought of that on his own. Bozzini was behind it.
But it was a fascinating special to watch, especially having done, I think at the time I'd done like fucking 90 outdoor shows. And so, or whatever.
Oh, yes, that's right. Of course. You're the one that, yeah, of course.
Yeah. I mean, it was fascinating for me to watch because I thought there's so many things we did differently that we also had to do. Like the fact that they were in their cars is a really fucking uphill battle. I
don't know how the hell you did that. And you didn't want them honking during your show?
Oh, I wouldn't let them honk. No. Because, you ready, Colin? You ready for a little inside baseball talk right now?
Yes.
You know who has them honk? People who can't get laughs. People who need them to clap after a joke.
Yeah, that's why we had them honk.
I'm not shitting on Marina at all or anyone but trust me, I know who gets honks. It's people whose act isn't strong enough with material or punchlines, or they don't trust their act. And they need the response, so they go, if you guys like something, just honk. Because I know you're not going to laugh, because now this is an act. When you do outdoor shows, you are dependent on laughs, and you're dependent on your own ability to be comfortable with silence. It's an amazing, I mean, this last summer was an amazing experience in just being comfortable with silence and being cool with not like over the top, because you hear, if you have 4,000 people in a parking lot, you definitely hear them laugh, but you don't hear them laugh like you do in a pub.
Before we continue this, can I get water?
Yeah.
Should we stop the video? How do you?
No, go ahead.
I'll be right back.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole experience was fascinating, and it was even more fascinating to share with comics because your insights on what, like I did it with Tom. I did one show with Segura and with Jay Leno, and it's a different muscle when you do those outdoor shows. It's a different muscle, and to watch you guys go in cold, like go in straight from clubs into that. I mean, I must have watched that special 10 times to see little things that I saw that people did wrong. Like this is going to sound crazy, but the volume of some people's voices was like they were outside, not realizing you're shouting in someone's car.
Right.
Like there's so many things that I was like, I watched that and then I watched it and I was like Bobby kept talking about the lapping of the waves. Can you hear that? And I was like, no one can hear it. And it was like a live show, but there was a disconnect when as an audience member, I was like, I can't hear the waves. I see your fucking hair blowing in the wind or your shirt blowing in the wind. It looks gorgeous. This is the most beautiful shot I've ever seen. And the fact that everyone kind of shit on it a little bit, I was like, don't shit on it. Don't shit on it. This is gorgeous. This is the most beautiful special I've ever seen in my life. It was so fucking amazing that I honestly, Colin, I said to my managers and agents, I was like, I really think I want to do a special like Colin's, like outdoors. It's so beautiful. It was.
I'll direct
amazing.
it.
What's that?
Let me direct it.
Colin, that's all you had to say. That's all. You know how much by the way, but having said that, you got to tell me which of my jokes I got to take out.
Oh, of course, that's what I'll do.
Fuck yes. I would love that. I would love that.
I'll curate. I like to add little things, take away. I mean, everybody's going to listen to himself ultimately. You tell anybody in comedy, this joke with that, they look at you like, fuck you, because it's just how we are.
Yeah.
By the way, same thing as with you telling us it was so beautiful, don't shit on it. But what are the odds? I mean, how many gigs have you ever done? You could be in a beautiful ballroom and you're like, fuck, look at this shitty. I mean, that's comedy. It's not saying, hey, this place is beautiful. It's going, yeah. That's what I used to love on roasts, especially like the old roast, but everybody does it still, which is my favorite thing, is they go, let's say Bob Saget. Bob Saget was a star of this show. The show shit, and they laugh. And then you have to start fresh. You have to cleanse the palate. They go, but Bob actually has done a lot of great music. I can kill him. But one good thing, and then the audience applauds every time, like, Bob, he also got married last year. Hey. So I love that. It's always like, you have to make it, build it back up, and then just kill the person.
Oh,
I love that on roast. That's my favorite thing. When
I could never do a roast, and I didn't like being at roasts because
why not?
Because people would destroy me so easily, and I'm such a for lack of better words, such a paper lion that like I sit there going like, oh, I mean, and I get and then whenever I roast someone, it comes off so nasty that everyone's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, no, that's the problem. You have to. It's such a weird line. I mean, it's. You didn't see? Did you see the Voss roast from a couple of years ago?
I was at the Voss roast. I showed up in New York that day. Had been drinking all day, and someone's like, "Hey, the Voss is having a roast," and I was like, "Shut up!" And I sat in the back with like Mike Vecchione and I want to say like Attell, and just watched from the outsides, and I was doubled over when they said that Jim Norton looked like a pond turtle. I could not stop fucking laughing.
But wait, but we're talking about the one at this Underground.
The Underground, yeah.
And how about what's great at roast is when somebody like shows up, like Jim Florentine goes on, middle of the show, and just goes. Did you see Jim Florentine?
I'm sure I did. I was pretty drunk though.
I'll tell you two of his jokes just to tell you why he owned the roast. His opening joke, he goes, Bonnie, because Bonnie McFly, Richard's wife put the thing together. He goes, Bonnie is a MILF, a middle I'd like to fuck. And his last joke, he goes, or it should have been his last if it wasn't. He goes, Bonnie came from Canada and she came here and live the immigrant's dream to come to America and get stupid rich. But yeah, those are my happiest things when we do those kinds of things. You know, like you said, like what podcasts are. That's why your podcast is popular, because it's comedians. There's something about their thing that's just fun.
Oh, it was what was great about your special was you kept all the hang in the center out in it.
Yeah.
Like everyone busting balls, DeStefano not letting go, the fact that he had to go first.
Yeah.
I kept saying, so it's funny because I think we were going to do the podcast the day after I saw it. And so I had all these like notes about the thing. But one of the things that I loved was Chris went up and had a rough set, but it wasn't super noticeable that it was rough from the audience, like from watching the special. But the fact that he then pointed it out, in my head, I go, I wouldn't have noticed if you hadn't pointed it out. Right. And then he did it again. And I was like, I wouldn't have. I think you're over beating a dead horse. By the fourth time, I'm crying, laughing, going, I got to watch Chris's set again.
But it's not even that it was that rough. It was also because his energy is kind of like, okay. So, you know, some comics, we have more of a tendency to be like, all right, like sort of like letting yourself be vulnerable to what's going on. And I feel like that affects it too, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Because Voss went on first. And by the way, here's why you have to love Voss, right? He goes on. Him and Marina do the thing with the Voss afterwards is mad like a week later. I go, what are you mad at? He goes, because DeStefano's acting like he took the bullet for everybody for the rest of the show to be great. I took the bullet. And here's why Voss is the greatest. Because I didn't have, they said, do you want somebody to go out and make announcements? Do you want to go out and tell the people, thank you for being here? I go, no. I go, it has to be like a show. Voss goes out cold. Nobody speaks before Voss. And then he went out there and it was great. Because you know him. He's a warrior. He wasn't going to let them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Doesn't care. And that's my favorite thing in comedy is at some level, you don't care. At some level, I don't care. At some level, when you're up there, you just don't care about life, about anything. It's like there's something about an existential crisis in comedy. I only started comedy because I quit drinking. I had to quit drinking, so I didn't care what happened to my life. I didn't care. I didn't care about anything because that was my best friend. I loved drinking. So I said, I don't have anything to lose. I have nothing to lose. What do I care if I do comedy? I don't care. I don't care if I bomb. I have nothing to lose. My best friend is gone.
Why did you have to quit drinking?
Why? I mean, you know, I was one of those guys who just wake up anywhere, but you know, never anywhere that anybody would want to be, you know?
Really?
Never woke up with, you know, a beautiful, strange girl, maybe when I was 17, but by the time I was 23, the middle of the Bowery and like 8 a.m. in the gutter. I mean, you know, locked up, everything. I mean, I was always nothing good, bloody, you know, no money, everything. I was one of those people. I would just black out.
And then you just quit. No program. You just quit.
I don't talk about things like the program. I'm old school. Understand me?
God, I wish I was watching some documentary about people going to. What we were watching some shit about people going off to. Girl Interrupted, where people went off to an insane asylum, and I was like, that seems so fucking fun. Like, I would love to go to rehab. I would love to go to. I just don't have the brain that could allow myself to let go and say, I'm going to write off a month of my life or 90 days of my life and focus on me. I'm like, nah, I got to work. I'll just quit drinking. Like,
but Girl Interrupted, wasn't she like forced in there and stuff?
She tried to kill herself and she had to go in there.
Right.
But at the end, she goes back and goes, I need to fix me, you know?
It's like, I need to be interrupted.
Yeah.
And by the way, the pinnacle, speaking of Peak to 22, Angelina Jolie, Gia and Girl Interrupted, never better.
Never. Dude, Gia, she was so fucking hot in Gia. I watched that movie.
And perfect for the role.
Perfect. In Girl Interrupted, she steals that movie.
Yes.
I mean, overwhelmingly.
But that's the problem. Can you imagine being an actress? You show up and you're the lead. And they go, okay, and this is your best friend. You go, what the fuck? Are you kidding me? This is my best friend. This is what the camera is going to show. Me acting my ass off. I went to fucking acting school for 4 years. I went to fucking Juilliard or Carnegie Mellon. And now, but this gorgeous bitch on the fucking camera. Fuck you.
And Winona Ryder thought they'd be best friends. She's like, you know what? We're going to pal up really nice. And Angelina Jolie wouldn't talk to her.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm obsessed now with not just watching a movie, but watching a movie with my phone and then reading everything about that movie while we watch it.
Yes.
And then throwing in 2 cents. That is my obsession. And my other obsession is fucking history. I don't know why, out of nowhere, Bill Burr turns me on to this book, Flyboys. And it, for whatever reason, and I don't know if it's because I'm getting older.
Male erotica? Is that what that is? Flyboys?
Yeah, they were the companions to the Fly Girls from In Living Color. so what is
Flyboys about?
Flyboys is about World War II, but it's so politically incorrect, meaning it is so the world that we lived and what I don't. This is maybe you can help me decipher this, but what I find engaging about it is when you talk about history. You can't really candy coat it or whitewash it. You just have to tell the truth. And to hear truths these days is kind of refreshing to go, so that did happen, right? And we're not going to say that didn't happen. And then like I got fucking hung up like a jackass a long time ago when they did a remake of Grease for television and half of the greasers were black. And I was like, hold on, this is a tad bit distracting. I was like, you're not going to mention what a progressive school Rydell is, that all of a sudden they've got a black coach. And then my daughter Isla's like, they don't even let black coaches in the NFL. I'm like, all right, maybe I need to pump the brakes. but it's so interesting. Like, the Japanese soldiers ate American soldiers. It was like,
right.
And the way Americans treated Japanese at the time, American Japanese, was utterly horrific.
Right.
And I don't know if, I know that you're into history the way more than most comics. What's your draw to history?
I feel like, everything's a pattern, like everything's cyclical. So whenever you're doing history, a lot of it's just another time period, like our time period. So each different part is like, oh yeah, that's just like now. So it's almost like there's no way to do. And like you said, into the way today's culture is, if you can't speak directly to something without, you have to speak to it and go, look, this is humanity. Like, because a lot of people that are gatekeepers or whatever that you would call them today, I mean, that's an outdated term. They're not smart enough to understand, no, this is eternal truth.
Yeah.
It's not just, somebody speaking based on their life. This is just humanity, And so that's what I feel like you can do with history that you can't do, in a normal conversation. And it also makes you look at it more intelligently. Instead of coming from your emotion or your immediate experience, it forces you to take a step back and look at it as part of an overall thing,
That's an interesting take, because you can. One of the things I was obsessed with the insurrection that happened like a week ago or whatever.
Right.
I didn't tweet about it. I don't feel like that's my place. Maybe if I write a joke about it, that's my place.
Right, that's how I
should sit with those thoughts as opposed to hammer away at my keyboard 30 seconds after it happened.
Right.
And then you got Bert tweeting out, hey man, there's a Wizards Capitals game tonight. And people light him up. But I started, instead of tweeting about it, I started reading about insurrections, about the Bolsheviks taking over Nicholas II.
Right.
And it's interesting. I'm fascinated Did you see any of the footage of once they got into the Capitol? And there was a real ineffectiveness of like watching them go through notebooks, going like, "We got to find some shit, man. We got to find some shit."
Right.
And you're just like that. That person doing that really looks like an imbecile. Like it really looks like a. Like, do you think all the secrets about who killed JFK and if there are aliens land, that you're going to find it in Nancy Pelosi's notes on?
And what is it? If you ask them, what is it that's going to jump out at you right now?
Yeah.
Tell us. And they're like, I don't know, but and like you said, unless it says murder JFK, nothing's going to jump out at you. Unless it says election Monday, make sure to steal election November 4th. Other than that, what's going to be there you'll understand?
They're not going to understand any of it. And watching them flip through those pages, go, come on, man, we got to find some real shit, man, real shit. You were just like, you look like a bunch of freshmen that broke into the principal's office, and you're looking to change your report cards as if no one's going to notice.
And it's like we figured out they thought the hard part was breaching the Capitol. No, the hard part is, what are you going to do when you're in there?
Yeah.
What are you looking for? Once you're inside, you can see people like taking pictures.
What I find fascinating is that Lenin and all the Bolsheviks and the Dumas at the time of when they overtook were just as dumb as those guys. They were not. Clearly they weren't intelligent men. They were just morons that had the balls to be the first through the fucking doors. And what's even crazier, Colin, is and this is, look, I don't know anything. I'm trying to get this Russian. No one in the fucking field of Russian history will talk to me because of my past. But so I'm trying to. Because
of your Russian story?
Yeah, because they're like, yeah, we're good. We, whatever. They're academics. And so.
Oh, because you're a comedian, you mean?
And because I'm a comedian, I robbed a train, and they think they're getting set up in some way.
Right.
But what I find fascinating is that, Tsar Nicholas II basically murdered thousands of his constituents, just willy-nilly, killed the Jews, literally had a plan to kill Jews, killed people protesting. And Lenin takes over the country and goes, oh, that's clearly the only way to rule these people. Like they and did the exact same thing. Just did it harder, faster, and stronger, so that everyone was like, well, fuck, this guy really means to hear it. We thought we could take over Nicholas. No one's fucking with this guy. And then the other thing is, like, they never, for whatever reason, and I'm dying to figure this out, Russia has never been able to make bread. Like, they cannot make bread to save their fucking lives. And so Nicholas couldn't, they had bread strikes then. They had bread strikes with Lenin. Like, there's never been an upward trajectory during that time period. And I just kept thinking that when you say history repeats itself, I was like, what did these have they not read one history book?
Well, even like you said, when Russia, here's Hitler, who's a student of all this stuff, and he knows Napoleon, he's obsessed with Napoleon, and he knows Napoleon went to Russia, and that's where he lost, going into Russia. And he does the same thing.
Same thing.
But the bread thing is kind of amazing. I never even thought about that. Like, why does... Yeah, is it the weather or no?
I have no fucking clue. I'm not smart enough.
We have wheat fields.
Oh yeah, but they're wheat fields. They're pictures of them. Looks like a fucking desert. It's like that old Sam Kinison bit, like where he's like,
move to the right.
How many fucking people need to live in Russia before they realize, hey man, we're not set up. Middle.
You ever see that great movie with I don't know if it's I always mix up Edward Furlong and Elijah Wood, but it was a movie set in Russia based on a novel, and it's one of the greatest. It's a movie you would love, where he goes back to visit his grandfather to find out about his family, survived the Holocaust. It came out about 12 years ago.
No.
And what the hell is it called? But anyway, it's got the greatest footage. I guess they shot it over there in the Ukraine, and it's got the greatest footage of all the housing. They had the Eastern Bloc housing, and it's a great movie anyway.
It's funny. It's funny. I'm looking for it right now. Is it Lord of the Rings?
No, but he's the same guy. Whoever it was also in that soccer hooligans movie, Green.
Green Street.
Yeah. Who was that? Edward Furlong or Elijah Wood?
That's Elijah Wood.
Elijah Wood had the best taste. I don't know what happened to him. Elijah Wood had the best taste. He would do the most wildest movies. And
holy shit, Elijah Wood's done some great fucking.
Everything is illuminated. That's what it was called. I just remembered. Everything is illuminated.
Oh yeah. Wait, that's after a book, right?
Yes, and the book was really great too. It was written perfectly.
Hold on. I think Jonathan Safran Foer was the writer.
What a great book. But what a great movie.
All right,
and the guy that plays his cousin looks like John Turturro, and he leads him around, and he's a genius in it. You know, it's great.
This podcast is brought to you by Vuori. I absolutely love Vuori because what I love about Vuori is they make workout clothes, activewear clothes that don't look like workout clothes or activewear clothes. I don't know if those are the exact branded words they want to use. Those are the ones I use. One of my favorite things is to work out right in the morning and then go about my day. Put on clothes that make me think, hey man, if I get a minute, I'm going to hop on the treadmill and bang out a mile, right? That's what I love about Vuori. They are comfortable. They look great in everyday life outside the gym, but they are perfect for any workout, any activity like getting on the treadmill or doing dips or push-ups or kettlebells like last night. I'm in my Vuori pants. Vuori shirts are fucking next level, by the way. I'm in my Vuori pants. I'm watching a movie with the girls, and I thought, I'm not really enjoying this movie. I wouldn't mind doing some kettlebell squats. Perfect pants for kettlebell squats. And I wore them all day. I actually even slept in them. That's how fantastic they are. They've got women's performance joggers, the softest joggers you'll ever own, ladies. Women's daily leggings. I wish I honestly, I am jealous I can't wear leggings because my daughters and wife wear these every single day. Isla loves them because they're high-waisted with a drawstring. Men's core shorts, the most comfortable lined athletic shorts you're ever going to find. One short, every sport, and the men's poncho shorts, the perfect loungewear for work or home or just putting on a pair of shorts. Vuori is an investment in your happiness. For our listeners, they're offering 20% off your first purchase. Go get yourself some of the most comfortable, versatile clothing on the planet at vuoriclothing.com/Bert. vuoriclothing.com/Bert. VUORI clothing.com/Bert. Not only are you going to receive 20% off your first purchase, but you'll enjoy free shipping on any U.S. order over $75 and free returns. Go to vuoriclothing.com/Bert and discover the versatility of Vuori clothing. This podcast is brought to you by BetterHelp. I am a big advocate about therapy, even though sometimes I've veered away from it. I'm in it right now. I'm in it and I need it. With what's going on in this world right now, I don't even know if it's depression. I think it's just anxiety. My anxiety's been through the roof and it spills into other parts of my life. And then I start blaming and pointing fingers and becoming unhealthy, or what my therapist says, toxic in my responses to things. But I don't have the time. And by the way, I'm not going out of my house to go get into therapy right now. I'm not leaving my house going to face-to-face with another person. That's what's great about BetterHelp. If you ever wanted to try therapy or you want to get back into therapy or just want someone to talk to someone about, BetterHelp offers online licensed professional therapists who are trained to help and listen with issues including anxiety, stress, depression, relationship conflicts, difficulty in sleep, LGBTQ matters, trauma, anger, family conflict, grief, self-esteem. It's all the shit we're all going through right now. Even just finding a therapist can be intimidating and outright time-consuming. But with BetterHelp, you can simply fill out a questionnaire to help you assess your specific needs, then get matched with a counselor in under 48 hours. Schedule secure video or phone sessions, plus exchange unlimited messages with your therapist from the comfort of your own home. Everything you share is confidential. For any reason you don't like your counselor, bam, you can request a new one. No additional charge. Just get a new counselor, which is fucking awesome. Good luck getting that anywhere else. Join the 1 million plus people who have taken charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced BetterHelp counselor. BetterHelp is a convenient and affordable option, and our listeners are getting 10% off your first month with the discount code BERT. Listen, man, if you are going through some shit, or maybe it's not even that big a shit, but you think, God damn it, this is building up. It happens to all of us. Get started today at betterhelp.com/Bert. There's nothing to lose, people. It will make you feel better just to talk to someone for an hour, 30 minutes, whatever it is. It'll make you feel better. That is betterhelp.com/Bert, betterhelp.com/Bert. Listen, I will say this proudly. There is no shame in asking for help. The swing vote in revolutions is the Alex Jones or Rasputin, who is the lunatic so Rasputin had his ear for the Tsar and the Tsarina.
Yes.
And fucking Alex Jones, I mean, you need like explosivity to start a revolution. Like someone who's just fucking crazy enough to either for the people to rise up against, which I think those were the riots that we saw in the summer. Right. And then all of a sudden for the opposite side, I'm fucking fascinated with history.
But then you also had the Reds and the Whites who were both rising up against the government.
And then, right? Yeah.
You're saying that's like, so Lenin was the leader of the Reds, right?
The Bolsheviks, yeah.
And who was the Whites? They were the other.
Ivan Ichkov.
No.
It's something like that. He was the one, so you don't want to know something fascinating. By the way, I could fucking talk about this shit for hours.
Amazing.
The Whites with the Dumas was appointed by the Tsar, and there was this fucking period of a year, Colin, where they overthrew the Tsar, but he still like lived there, and they would just go into his fucking room, and like soldiers would just drunk go into his room and fucking eat their food with his hands. They gave him bread, like they treated him like a prisoner. And then they took him out to the fucking forest, and they were like, "This is where they're going to kill him." But at that time, Lenin overthrew the Whites. The Bolsheviks took over the whole capital, and what was happening was they were doing just as bad as the Tsar, and there was an uprising saying, "Let's bring back the Tsar. Let's bring back the Tsar." And that's when Lenin's like, "Fuck it, if we kill, God damn it, it's like cutting off fucking the guy's hand in Game of Thrones." Like it's such a cunt move that you can't take back. Once we kill the Tsar, we get it forever.
Right. And then they thought Lenin was bad. And then on his deathbed, he brings in Stalin. And
Stalin was so bad, fucking Hitler thought they'd be friends. Hitler thought he'd be friends with Stalin.
By the way, here's a scary thing about life. Lenin knew Stalin was bad.
Yeah.
And yet, even on his deathbed, he was too scared to not appoint him as his successor.
Fuck.
That's how evil Stalin was. On his deathbed, he scared the guy.
Did you ever travel much, Colin? Like vacation?
You mean the Funny Bones? Yes, in the 90s. No, I've been to, I did shows in Iraq and did shows in Japan, Korea, and I've been to Africa. I went on safari in Africa and went to South Africa and Cape Town and stuff. And, been to China and some shows over there, but not as much as I should have. But
has the quarantine made you want to travel? Has the quarantine made you want to travel?
Oh my God. No, I tried to set up when I did my first one-man show, the bit of the later ones, long story short, right?
Yeah.
It was the history of the world. So I did every country in the world. And the reason I did it was because my plan was I'm covering every country so I could travel the world like everybody else's. Every middle did 18 countries and I had never done any of them. So I did it for that reason and it still didn't happen. It just wasn't meant to happen for whatever reason. I fucking wrote a show specifically to travel the world. That's why I did that show.
And it never happened?
If things aren't meant to be, you can't force them. That's how it is.
Oh, I bought your book the day it came out.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, I started reading it, and then I was like, I'm not gonna read. Who am I fucking kidding? I'm such a bad reader that like
Yeah.
I'm trying to work a bit on it right now, but I'm I'm dyslexic, so I'll miss C words,
Oh, of course. Yeah.
and they like
Well, wait a minute. Where did you go to college? Rollins,
Florida State, Florida. I read the Florida chapter.
Florida State.
Yeah,
Is that where Danny Rollins was?
who's Danny?
Rollins.
No.
No, that was University of Florida. The serial killer. Remember?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember that. I just watched The Night Stalker on FX or on Netflix.
I know it was good. Tallahassee, I guess, is Florida. Where's Florida State?
Tallahassee is Florida State. Gainesville is where they had the guy who's cutting off heads and putting them on fucking mantles.
Right. Oh, that was evil. Here's the worst thing about that Danny. They should do one on him next. After Night Stalker.
Is that his name, Danny Rollins?
Danny Rawling, yeah. Evil. This is the worst. He went into one. The last people he killed, they knew. I forget how they found out. They knew it was him. He broke in, and the woman knew it was him because everybody was like out of town, but these people stayed. But her boyfriend her roommate just came back from work, locked the door, and a half hour later, this guy broke in. It's like 4 a.m. Psycho.
I remember I was in high school when that was happening, and I remember all our friends' sisters had just moved up to go to school at Florida, and all came home that semester.
All came home, yeah.
Everyone came home.
Oh,
it's crazy. What happened to all the serial killers, Colin?
I'm sure they're still around, But it's like now.
You think they peak in high school as school shooters?
Yeah. I think it's also because it's so much easier to catch people after one murder now.
Yeah.
There's so much DNA and there's cameras everywhere. In those days, you couldn't catch people for how many serial killers never got caught? Fucking hundreds,
Yeah. Were you in New York during the Son of Sam?
Yeah.
How old?
16 and 17.
Really?
Yeah. And my friend, like we got in his car. He's like, we're going to catch the Son of Sam. We're driving around. We didn't catch him. But I knew two of his victims a little bit,
Really?
Yeah. Well, I went to high school with the sister of one of the girls. And so I remember when that happened. And then 2-3 years later, I met one of the other guys that was a victim that got shot. And the girl got killed. The guy lived, but he had a bullet in his head from the Son of Sam.
God. So what projects are you working on now? What are you doing now?
I'm writing. It's funny you say Son of Sam. I'm writing a bicentennial, New York City bicentennial. I'm just writing all these characters. So I'm writing all these characters from 1976, 77. I don't know why. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. But I mean, just all these different monologues of all these people from that time.
Oh, wow.
I don't know what. Before, I don't know what for. I don't know what it's going to be. But I'm just, for some reason, when I start writing them, they come out the way I want them to. So I'm like, I'm supposed to be doing this right now.
Is that how your process kind of works? Is that whatever shows up is the thing you work on it? You don't really like go, I want to do another one-man show. I want to do.
No. When I would do a one-man show, I have to consciously think it out, make a theme, like I did the Constitution show because I was like, I want to know why in a place where everybody hates everything, everybody loves this document.
Yeah.
Nobody agrees on it. This is 6 years ago. Nobody agreed on anything anyway back then. But I said, why does everybody agree that the Constitution is great? And so that's, you know what I mean? So it's like, I think of the idea, but I mean, if it goes, sometimes you think of an idea and it just, if you're blocked, you're just like, all right, I'm not supposed to work on it. We're still supposed to be having fun with comedy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's still supposed to be fun. It's a lot of work, but it's supposed to be fun when you're on stage. Like here you are. It's so funny, by the way, because when you're talking about doing the tour of all the drive-ins,
yeah,
and then you're saying, yeah, because you're saying, here's what you would do differently. Like the experience of doing those dates is so interesting to me. But then I was like, but how is he getting laughs. How could you hear laughs? We needed the people hitting their horns because we can't hear the laughs. I was like, yeah, because you said it. 4,000 cars. You know how many cars we had at our show? 40.
I saw that. That was my other note. Like I had a lot of notes. I had a lot of notes, Colin. Because
you just did it for 3 months.
Yeah, and I reached out to. I think you guys had. Did you guys work with Jax?
No, not on that one. No.
Okay. I reached out to one of my buddies who was like working with you on something, and I was like, hey, tell Colin to come out and do one of these ones that I'm at because there are gorgeous drive-in movie theaters. And what the number one key to what was successful about ours was, and this was an accident, was the first one we showed up to is North Carolina, and COVID wasn't really big where they were, and they just tailgated. I mean, they just set up like they were at a college football game. Just everyone got outside. Everyone had trucks. Everyone's either set up in the back of their trucks or out there and brought couches, brought beds. I mean, it was hot tubs. It was that was the part that I loved.
And how long did you do?
I did an hour and 30 minutes.
And when do you walk around the crowd?
No. Get up. The first show I did, I had an hour and 15 minutes, and I did it in 35 minutes. Because I was not used to it. I wasn't like I wanted.
Said you were working like right.
Oh yeah, and I powered through it, and then I fucking struggled a little bit. But we did 2 shows. It was fun. And then the other thing is I would get worried because they would have one set of cars facing me, and then it was a twin cinema. So they had another set of cars just facing a screen. They were just watching the show. And it bothered me. That bothered me that they were getting less of an experience. And then,
of course.
And then once I got kind of past that and realized that a lot of this it wasn't a moneymaker for me. I think people knew that, but they knew that I was there so that everyone could get out of their house safe, get out, have a night and party. And my sisters told me that. My sisters went to the one we did at the Rose Bowl with Tom, and they were like, I'm certain that is not the ideal way to watch you do comedy, but it was fun as shit. They're like, we set up our entire car. We had everything in there. And my sister just had a baby. And she was like, and it was nice that we went out. We felt like we were a part of something. We saw a show. I'd always do a meet and greet at the end where I got in a golf cart and drove through as people were in traffic and waved. And they were like, it was so nice. And you're like, oh, that's the same reason I'm doing it is because I want to get out of the house. Right. I was having fun. And like you said, it was just fun for me. But then we started being very litigious about, can they get out of their cars? There was a couple, like, I want to say Philly and Jersey, where they wanted them to stay in their cars. And I think I was lucky because by that time I was just very confident in if I heard the front cars laughing, I knew everyone was laughing. Right.
Now, when you did the show with Jay Leno, did you say, Jay, let me explain to you how this works?
I did not, and I should have. Because Jay went up, you could tell, but Jay's such like a pro that he just like, I don't think he was fazed by it at all, but you could definitely feel like any comic just not hearing the laughs, you could hear it in their act. But Jay was.
I think that Jay Leno was one of those guys that when he started, there was no comedy clubs. He would do whatever.
Yeah.
So it was a strip club, or it was whatever it was. So he just got in that mindset of like, whatever the situation is, I'm going to do comedy. And I always tell people, which you're a great example of with those shows, that the only thing you can't be as a comedian is you're not allowed to be, is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's illegal. You could be anything else. Audiences can hate you, but they can never feel sorry for you. You can never be uncomfortable. You can suck. They can hate my guts. You can never be like, feeling weird to be there. You're not allowed.
Yeah. It was, I got, when we did not the last one, the last ones we did were, they were great, but one of the last ones we did was me and Tom at the Rose Bowl. I wish I knew how many. It was a ridiculously huge event because it was, you couldn't see where the back was.
And the parking lot of the Rose Bowl?
Yeah, we did the parking lot of the Rose Bowl.
Hilarious.
It was gorgeous. It was, this is one of the other things I loved is that and this is what I loved about your special is when you were sitting waiting for the show, you're looking at the Los Angeles Fort Mountains in the background of the Rose Bowl with the stage going like, man, this is where I'm having my cocktails tonight. Like I'm having a cocktail in my car watching this. This is going to be great. And that's what, I mean, your special was so watching the sunset on New York City. I mean,
I did a few shows at colleges in like 2000 and they were all in New Mexico, Arizona, and Texas. And they were all like those outdoor, like small versions of Red Rocks. They weren't big like Red Rocks, but they were like just these outdoor things at some little college, you know? And it was so much fun. You know, you always think comedy is better with indoors, laughs bounce off, and that's true. But outdoors, like you said, people are sitting there and going, they're automatically elevated. Their mood is elevated.
Oh, fuck.
Instead of being wedged next to other people in a fucking theater, you know what I mean? You're sitting with your friends in your car, you know what I mean?
We did one. I'll tell you what was the game changer for me is we do all these outdoor events and then we go and we do an amphitheater, just like a civic amphitheater, meaning this is where they were going to have maybe some high school bands competitions, maybe a few plays in Fort Collins, Colorado, middle of nowhere, Colorado. Not saying that Fort Collins is the middle of nowhere, but not Denver, not Red Rocks, just a regular civic amphitheater. And they had set up spray painted little boxes people could stay in. And I am telling you, Colin, I felt like this whole tour I've been swimming with overalls on. It was so explosive that I was like, fuck theaters. I'm just doing amphitheaters for the rest of my life. Because everyone, craft beers everywhere. Everyone's got big, tall beers. Everyone's got blankets out. Like it was so fucking amazing that it was one of the greatest experiences. Then I watch your special and I go, why am I doing a special? Like I'm already have my shirt off. Like why not lean into that? And let's go outside. Let's go to Florida. Let's get a nice long sunset and do a show with like, and I'm just sitting there going, why not? Why not let it get dark? Why not let it change? And then I was like, I wonder what continuity was like. How many shows did you guys tape? Just one or two?
Just one. Yeah. But continuity, but that's the other thing always in comedy, like we're always like trying to make it look perfect, but it's never gonna. Like that was accidentally, that was what's her name? Rebecca, who works she's an agent in New York. She found that place and they were just in between drive in and she's like, what about that? We got that place so cheap. It was crazy. And MTV shot the Video Music Awards there 2 days before we were there. And they built these giant stages so you couldn't see the backdrop. You couldn't see the backdrop.
What the fuck?
They might as well have been anywhere. They built these big elaborates for all the bands are like, we want this behind us. They had to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so the whole special, you're like, are they really outside? Are they really? It's the most absurd thing you ever saw in your life, you know? And it's like, it's crazy, man. Yeah, I agree with you. Amphitheaters are great for comedy. I agree. I love it.
I've been supposed to do Red Rocks now for like fucking a full 2 years. We've been pushing it because of COVID. It was supposed to do it in September. Then now we're pushing it again next September. And I'm so excited and at first I was scared. I was terrified because I was like, I wonder how I'll do outdoors. Now I'm like, oh, please. You mean organized outdoors? Are you fucking shitting me? I would love it.
Yeah. I used to sell T-shirts at concerts when I was a kid, you know, and we did a couple of shows. There's like gigs, venues in New York, Connecticut like that. And I was like, Jesus Christ, these bands sound 100 times better.
Yeah. Oh, so, well, I'll let you get out of here. We've been on for an hour and 15. And I feel like with New York guys, you guys don't have those podcast legs that we all were brought up with Rogan, where it was like 5-hour podcasts.
Absolutely.
You were great on Rogan, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, that was awesome. I think he's building an outdoor amphitheater in his new place.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I did an outdoor amphitheater in Austin 14 years ago. And It was amazing. So I think it's a great, I hope he does, because outdoor amphitheaters down there are badass, you know?
Fuck yeah. Well, hey, Colin, I appreciate you doing this. I'm glad you didn't get too bad with the COVID. I'm sorry your wife did. Your book overstated. I got it on Amazon. It showed up the day of. I put a post out. Your fucking special is amazing. That special is so great. And I really honestly wish there were more like that, because seeing a bunch of great comics all go on, tag team, have fun, and bullshit was like, it's so much better than watching just a rundown.
Yes, you want to just have fun. You want to make it, and I feel like it informs the material in the long run. It would be the way to do it. Only if they let me direct it.
Well, I appreciate it, Colin, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Hopefully this will open up. Do you know when are you getting? But you don't need to get vaccinated now until like fucking October.
No, I guess not. But I mean, I still have to check. Does it last that long now? I know people have lost the antibodies after 5 months.
I know a lot of people that have gotten it twice, and you're like,
me too.
And then you start going, hold on, maybe it's you. Like,
yeah, maybe. No, I think people are susceptible, but I know a few people too that have gotten it twice.
God damn it. Well, I'm glad you had not such a rough run of it. I was worried.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm fine.
I was worried. I was worried because your past heart attack. I was like, fuck.
I know. I was afraid I get a blood clot and just be, like one of those living dead, just sitting here like this. Still do the podcast.
Oh, it's been an honor. You're my absolute favorite comic, Colin. I absolutely love you, man.
Love you too. Thanks.
I'll talk to you later.
Thank you, buddy.
All right, buddy. Take care. This episode was brought to you by The Machine.